All right, so we're just rearranging people around in here. It's going to be the low calorie edition of Sidebar tonight. It's the
shell game, but with people.
Yes, it's shell game, but with people. It's musical chairs, but we have more chairs than we have people. Which, you know what? That's okay. Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's Michael Groff. It is Austin, and then Michelle will be joining us here for an exciting edition of Sidebar. Welcome in. We do this twice a week, Tuesday night, Thursday night, 8 p.m. East, 5 p.m. Pacific. We just talk all stuff, law tube, and sometimes outside of the law tube scope, a little bit into the law enforcement area and the just the entire legal process, if you will. And then, of course, as is always the case on Sidebar, we eventually just go on to other tangents outside of everything in general, because it's called Sidebar. I mean, that's exactly what you do. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody. So tonight, what we're going to talk about here, and this is actually something that, Michelle, who's joining us here. Yeah, I'm moving over here just a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, how this got brought up was Michelle actually went and talked about this initially, and that is evidence collection. This was all stemmed from the Luigi Mangione case. Of course, pretty much everybody knows who that is, but just in case you've been living under a rock for the last year or so, because it's been just over a year since it happened, Luigi Mangione, allegedly, he has been charged in the shooting of the CEO of...
I'm trying to man the chat.
Oh, okay. Michelle's handling the chat. Anyway, that's the United Healthcare CEO. And there goes the background. All right. Anyway, I will try to do that. It's technical Tuesday. And I don't know. We'll get tacos after this. It'll be Taco Technical Tuesday. Anyway.
Technical Taco Tuesday?
Technical Taco Tuesday. I love that.
Oh, there.
So anyway, that's what's going on. So he allegedly shot the CEO of United Healthcare. And there was a manhunt, and the police caught up with him in Pennsylvania at a McDonald's. And this is where the genesis of this topic comes from, because the police arrested him, and you can say that he was only detained, but as many lawyers will tell you, whenever you are not free to leave and when you are surrounded by police, you are ostensibly arrested.
Yep.
In
their custody.
So in the chat, it says needed a sound effect of your crashing there. Oh, I thought we were having technical.
Okay. All right. So anyway, whenever you are detained, quote, detained, and you're not free to leave, you're basically arrested. And then when the police start asking you questions, without Mirandizing you, which is exactly what happened in the Luigi Mangione case, you can't do that.
Yep.
That's what Luigi Mangione's lawyers are saying. And then on top of that, Austin and Michelle, you know what else happened was they started going through his bag.
Yep.
And you can't do that either. Again, he was not Mirandized, but you can't just start going through that. Now, of course, the police are claiming they thought, he had a bomb, but they didn't, or he could have had a bomb. We don't know. Well, I guess he could have. I guess he could have also had uranium-238. He could have had an asteroid. He could have had the Holy Grail. I mean,
Atlantis.
you can't operate on these wild could-be's. And so they, rather than making sure in this high-profile case that they dotted their I's and lowercase j's and crossed their T's, they decided they were just going to start searching through his stuff. And again, his lawyers are saying, can't do that. And so anything that you get out of that search, anything that happens as a result of not only that search, but as a result of the questioning, any information that you get, it becomes fruit of the poisonous tree. You can't use it.
Yep.
It doesn't mean they throw the whole case out. Some people think that that's what happens, but that's not what happens. But that's kind of how things like that go. You know, any information that you glean from that, anything that you get in the search. And that's why the lawyers for Luigi Mangione want to have this, all the evidence that they collected there, the police collected, just basically tossed. And if that gets tossed, it makes a very big uphill climb for the prosecution in that case, as if they didn't already have a big one because, you know, of the possibility of jury nullification and all of that.
Yep.
Which is another topic for another day. But so, what say you?
That's going to be a hard thing to overcome, is the jury nullification.
Yeah.
Because everybody has seen it, or at least heard about it, especially seen the clip of the shooting.
For sure. And that's the other thing, is they're saying, you know, the Mangione lawyers are basically saying, how can we possibly get a fair trial when it's completely prejudicial? Normally, you know, in a case like this, they might do a change of venue, but this is such a big national case. What are you going to move this to? Algeria? Like, where are you going to move this case to where people haven't seen it? So anyway, with that set up in mind, what say you guys, not only to this case, or I guess we can start in this case and then we just kind of branch out in a broad fashion, but Michelle, what do you say on this?
I have to lean in.
Yeah.
I'm like just trying to read the chat and follow everything going on. So I watched that by, what was that I was watching? That was YouTube channel. I saw that. I am speaking louder.
I have a lot of noise gating on the microphones so that, you know, you don't hear a lot of the room noise and stuff. So.
Oh, but do you remember what YouTube channel I watched it on?
I don't.
Anyways, they talked about, I know, it was Bruce.
Bruce Rivers, the criminal lawyer, the criminal defense
out of
lawyer.
Minnesota.
Oh, yep.
And he broke it down. And he
I love his videos.
Yes.
And he's breaking it down about Officer Wasser and how she's just fudging up everything. And yeah, she kept going through his bag and he's yelling, "Get a warrant." And, well, it's a little late now, so I guess we'll see what happens.
Yep.
But yeah, warrant.
Well, and right, so that's definitely a big factor in this, is that, you know, even if his lawyers are definitely arguing about the warrant situation. And
throwing out suppressing the whole back, like everything in the backpack.
Yeah.
That would guarantee the prosecution's case.
If I remember right, that's where they recovered the firearm too.
Yeah.
Right.
They had like the manifesto, the magazine.
Yeah,
like
so all that.
Everything.
From what I can think off the top of my head, if all that gets tossed, the only evidence they have is the video, I think. Which, yeah, that's not great, but it can be defended against.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that is, I think, the crux of the problem with this. We're having this little technical issue there. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So anyway, that's the problem with all of this, right? That's the real issue. For the defense, I think, has, first of all, in any criminal case, we all know the defense is already basically up by a touchdown, right? Because you enter with a presumption of innocence. Mm-hmm. And so already you're in good standing there. Now, even though oftentimes in our system, and we've certainly talked about that here on Sidebar a number of times, even though you enter with a presumption of innocence, sometimes the law enforcement, sometimes, the system treats you as though you're already guilty or a threat to society, even though they are just allegations. And that's all this is right now, is an allegation. That said, when you have evidence that gets suppressed, you have a suppression hearing and evidence gets tossed out. Now the defense is up 2 touchdowns because now in this case, this is the crucial part of the case, right? This is the gun. This is the weapon that was allegedly used to kill the CEO.
Yes.
This is, you've
Fingerprints
got the,
and
yeah,
everything.
the
That's
fingerprints.
That's the one thing you want to hire its own security guard for, or a group of cops for, just to sit there with that and make sure nothing happens to it.
And Bruce said it would be so easy to get a warrant had they just gotten the warrant.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Right. And that's the other thing is,
but she said there's a bomb. And he's like, if there's a bomb, why didn't they clear the McDonald's out?
why didn't they call the bomb squad?
Why didn't they call bomb squad?
At the very least, evacuate the area. And if one of these cops wants to fall on the sword and look in there because they think there's a bomb, obviously they didn't think there was a bomb. This is just, it's like the story they tell later after, yeah, but Chief, I thought there was a, oh God, what the bomb. Yeah, this guy's a terrorist, right? And that's the other thing is they wanted to initially charge him as a terrorist.
Terrorists. Yep.
And they get that thrown out, right?
Well, they
They're
decided
dropped.
not to go that route because the burden of proof, the burden was so much higher that they were almost for sure going to get a jury that was going to be like, hey, the guy might have killed somebody, but he's not a terrorist, especially in New York where, they might know a little bit more about terrorism in New York. There might be a little higher standard for what's constituted as terrorism in New York versus maybe Wichita.
Right.
Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Right.
That's where he was.
Right. Right. He was picked up in Altoona. But I mean, it happened in New York, so it would be tried in New York.
Yes.
So that's kind of my whole point with this is that I don't know how exactly you get I don't know how exactly the prosecution proceeds from here, unless, of course, the judge just totally buys into what the police are saying, which does happen on a number of cases. We all know that.
Oh, yeah, they're all sitting there having drinks together after court.
Well,
allegedly.
not that you'd know anything about this, Austin.
Oh, no, not me.
Wahoo says Mayor McCheese was unavailable for a comment.
I think it was the Hamburglar. And that's the thing. The jury in this case, whoever the jury happens to be, I mean, even, this is, and it's not that I want to focus necessarily on just this one case, but it is the genesis of why we're talking about this.
Yep.
And it's such a fascinating topic. And we rarely delve into one specific topic here on Sidebar. But since we're here tonight, we might as well at least explore this a little bit. And we can fan out as we go. But, how is this not, okay, let's say all that gets suppressed. How do you go forward? And that could be a general question for any time you have a suppression hearing and your evidence, your primary evidence, your gun or your murder weapon, your alleged murder weapon, your fingerprints, your forensics, all of that gets tossed, and any statements that you collected during questioning.
Had a lot in that bag.
He did.
He really had the plan and everything. Well, he had the manifesto.
Yeah, the manifesto. And again, the manifesto, the whole I did it, this is why I did it, I hate insurance companies, blah, blah, blah. All the idealism or whatever he wrote in there, all of that gets tossed out. Now, if you still have you still have the video evidence, which is not suppressed.
Witnesses. There was witnesses right there.
Right, there's witnesses.
Yep. The person in that car that pulled off like right after.
Yeah.
But that video.
That video is going to be the number one.
We all remember the video.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
we all remember the screen grabs of the video. And honestly, when we saw that video, I was like, oh, so basically generic white guy grainy, generic white guy. Like it looked like Super Nintendo graphics. You know, I guess that could be Luigi Mangione, or it could be, I don't know, 100,000 other people in New York.
Right.
Or more than 100. It could be 1 million other people in New York. Or anywhere in the country for that matter. So that video doesn't help you very much. And you can say, well, we've got the timeline of where Luigi Mangione was. And but then it goes from you've got you basically have him red-handed to a very, very circumstantial case. And again, a lot of murder cases are circumstantial and you can get convictions in circumstantial evidence. But this is like, you went from almost a slam dunk to now you have to hit a 3-pointer from the opposite free throw line. I mean, it's like, yeah, you could, but yeah, it's a Hail Mary at best. I mean,
I guess we'll see.
One of the $1 million hook shots across the arena.
Yeah.
Or $100,000 hook shots.
Yes.
I just had a thing because from my research, I had a thing pop up. Don't know how much of it is, but they got one search warrant in that entire case.
Yeah.
And that was to fingerprint the gun. So that might help them. But
it might, except
if they could get to it.
If they could, they're going to argue inevitable discovery, right? That's going to be one of their arguments is, hey, we would have found that backpack eventually. But my question would be, would you? Would you have found it eventually? Because had you gone through the proper channels, maybe you would have, but you didn't. And so we can't sit there and play the what if game.
Exactly.
I think at that point, it's like, you might have, but we can't operate a criminal justice system on mights and maybes.
But I think the judge still has to rule. I haven't watched today.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that still has to be sorted out.
It's going to be a little bit.
So I think that's
prelim.
Yeah. So then the other case that we were talking about before the show, Austin brought up the Central Park 5.
What's that?
The Central Park 5, this was obviously in New York.
Yes.
When was that, Austin? That was like 20 years ago?
No.
Or 30 years ago? Oh, in the 70s. Oh, my God. I'm old.
They spent 40 years in prison. The longest one did.
Yeah.
Before the outcome.
So these are people that were accused of a very horrific crime against somebody.
Yes.
And they all went to prison for it. And the evidence collection in this case, well, Austin, you were talking about it before the show. Go for it because
I was just looking it up.
So it ended up being overturned and all the verdicts thrown out after 40 years. The New York Innocence Project got it because, for one, all 5 guys were threatened that they either with physical harm or by that they'd end up spending the rest of their lives in prison and thrown into a hole, essentially. Then there were false confessions that the police wrote up beforehand and actually handed to one of them to sign because they couldn't sign his signature.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that one is crazy.
Yeah.
Then they were allegedly hit and kicked and slapped. And the DA told them to keep going even more because just told them to keep going to get as much evidence as they could. And then it came out that the only part that was on video was the false confession. Everything else, there was no video of.
Mysteriously.
Yeah, they forgot to do it. Or it did not. It was corrupt. Basically, the 1970s, it was corrupted. I don't know how to... Yeah.
Well, yeah. Again, this is...
assaulting a jogger.
You're right. Yes.
Yes.
And then
Yep.
they were
At a
exonerated.
Correct. Basketball game.
Correct.
Or after a game.
So,
Yeah.
and again, they were all exonerated, but it's one of those things where this was 35 years before body cams really started becoming a thing, and at least 20 some years before we started using even dash cams.
They were still using the big old the manual turn ones.
Yeah.
From the 60s.
Yes. And then in interviews, they did record some interviews, but they were like,
the confession, but
it looks like the Zapruder film. I mean, it's terrible, terrible quality.
Yes.
And of course, back in those days, the way that sometimes you got a confession out of somebody, maybe you tuned them up a little bit, maybe you roughed them up a bit.
Wait,
and none of that was on video in this case.
This was April 19th, 1980. Is that the one?
I don't know exactly when it happened, Michelle. I don't know exactly, but
I think that's the Central Park 5.
Yeah. But I do know this. It was definitely long. I was
April of 89.
Yeah, I was quite young when this happened. More like 20 years before we started having body cams, and maybe 5-10 years before dash cams really became a real thing.
I was middle school.
I was in 5th or 6th grade. So, this was
born for 2 years.
I was going to say, was Austin born yet?
No, he was not.
91.
-2.
Yep.
So again, this was a thing that, and this is one of those things that changed kind of criminal justice, this case.
Correct.
It's a big one, and it's still studied. Austin was talking about, they studied this in one of his legal classes.
Yep. When I was getting my paralegal degree, we spent some time on that and how it was, you can have a really good case on paper, but then you start adding in the little things that the detectives and everything messed up, and then it goes out the window from there.
And again, evidence collection way back when, I mean,
was non-existent.
We talk about circumstantial. A lot of times, and we found out later because of DNA evidence, and DNA evidence, it certainly got a lot of people convicted, and it got a lot of other people exonerated. Yes. And unfortunately for those people that were exonerated, well, sadly, they spent 10, 20, 30 years in prison falsely, and without so much more than a pat on the back and hey man, this kind of crap happens sometimes, man. Just be on your way. So, as much as we like to talk about how much better it is now and how we're more sophisticated and we have more forensic technicians and forensic labs and ways to analyze things, and we have more cameras, and because we've talked about on previous sidebars about cameras and
just ask
digital
more
evidence.
Questions. Don't do a surface kind of investigation. Just to ask a few more questions.
Well, it's not just, it's asking questions, and then on top of asking questions, it's
asking
also
the right ones.
It's asking the right and following procedure.
Oh my gosh!
That too.
Get a warrant.
Get a warrant, even if you don't think you need one. Even if you're unsure. When in doubt,
get the warrant.
Get the warrant.
Yep.
And don't be a cowboy, because and if the other thing is, you got to write up these reports properly. Again, my eyes have certainly been opened the last.
The reports. Have you seen some police reports?
Well, yeah, some police reports.
Junk that's not true, don't put it in there.
Well, right. Because what's going to happen is and this is another big part of the criminal justice system, is if you do get the right defense attorney, if you do get the right judge that will scrutinize probable cause, and this is a regular topic here, Judge Fleischer. We miss Judge Fleischer's live streams, but man, when we watched Judge Fleischer, that probable cause was never, ever a rubber stamp with him. Judge Wade Mercer in Jackson County, Florida.
Yes.
He reviews those probable cause cases pretty carefully.
Yeah,
even
it's nice how it starts 50-50 in those, or maybe
Right.
even 60-40 in favor of the defendant
right.
before they do the evaluation, and then it goes where it goes.
And even as we give her crap, but even Judge Glazer, is pretty. Well, she does a pretty decent job looking over probable cause as well.
Correct.
There have been times where we have certainly seen her find no probable cause. And
that's in a busy court,
Yes.
too, so that's even more I don't want to say a miracle, but even more impressive that she'll do it in a dock.
Can you imagine? Yeah,
Miami-Dade, one of the busiest courtrooms I've ever seen consistently. I mean, they do weekend appearances, all that we've gone to, here at TCF. Dan did a live show on 4th of July, and two places we went to were Miami-Dade, even though Judge Glazer wasn't there, but a fill-in judge, a guest judge was, and the jail magistrate court in El Paso.
Is that the hallway court?
No, that's not hallway court. Although
I was going to say
I think
that's another one that's really impressive.
Hallway court is always impressive. That one is. I mean, that's literally they're just all crammed into a hallway. It's like it's like cows to the slaughter. Yeah, it is. It's slaughterhouse court. It's impressive how many people are jammed in there like sardines.
I would totally have a panic attack and pass out.
I tell you
and
what,
they'd just be dragging me along.
I am not a claustrophobic person by nature, but I don't like big crowds, and I don't like big crowds in small spaces, and that would be incredibly tough.
Yes.
So Charles says Fleischer is very sensitive to cops not following procedure. There is a lot more permissive. She will bounce cases, citing wrong codes.
Yeah.
Etc.
Well,
ironically, and then he says, ironically, Texas criminal procedure
allows
DAs to.
In one of my cases that I found, the DA is actually helping the defendant and the defendant's attorney try and get him off of death row right now. And
wow.
As of a week ago, it got sent back from the U.S. Supreme Court to the Texas Appeals Court. I can't remember what they call it, because the lab that they sent all the evidence to totally mixed up all of the samples for everything and corrupted everything.
Oh.
The only thing they have is fingerprints, from what I was able to tell.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is another aspect to all of this, right?
Yes.
So not only do you have to worry about law enforcement, not only do you have to worry about the evidence collection properly being done.
Yes.
Now you have the labs.
Yes.
And this is another thing, and of course they have to follow rules, a chain of evidence, and all that, and
correct.
And if stuff gets mixed up, well, now if at the very least it's grounds for an appeal. Of course, it could be mistrial, could be it could be a complete dismissal. You can't go back and do it again. No mulligans, no double jeopardy.
Yes.
Depending on how egregious it was.
Correct.
So that's, I guess, this is one of those things where the more I watch and the more we talk about this stuff, sometimes I almost get the feeling it's amazing that we're able to convict anybody at all ever of anything.
Right.
Given that, I know a lot of times everything runs smoothly and people do their job. This is not to say that I know it's going to sound like we're dumping on law enforcement. I would never want to be I wouldn't want to be a cop. Michelle, we watch enough enough police videos and enough where it's like there's no way I'd ever want to do it, because it is, you are dealing with people. Yes, there's good people, but yes, you're dealing with some people on their worst day, and you're dealing with some people, you never know if you're on a DV call, domestic violence call, or you're on a, traffic stops. The two things cops hate most is just the routine traffic stop and the domestic violence calls, because you never know.
I'd like to see a poll on that with also your DUIs.
Well, DUIs are no fun either, I'm sure. Well, that just falls under the traffic stop category in general.
I guess so.
Yeah,
but
those are the two highest leading spots, types of calls where officers don't come home from. I'll say it like that.
Wow.
Are DVs and traffic.
Right. Because what you think of as a routine traffic stop can turn very not routine very quickly. How many times do we see it turn into a high-speed chase?
Yep.
And and again, this isn't to dump on law enforcement, because sometimes, now I will say law enforcement screwed up royally in the Luigi Mangione case. Okay.
Definitely.
They're out in Altoona.
Right. I mean, that's Keystone Cops. Okay. That's what that was.
We don't know that.
Well, I mean, come on.
They just, this is a very unique situation.
But that was like, you had the most high profile case in the country in many years, and you just botched bad.
Yep.
But many times you're in a life or death situation. There are times, yes, you have your training, but you're getting sprayed by bullets, or someone's got a knife, or someone is, it's a very high tension situation. And sometimes you do the thing that seems right in the moment, and later on you're grilled by the defense attorney because, maybe you didn't follow the policy exactly right. But, your argument is, well, yeah, but life is in danger. These are split-second decisions that have to be made. You can't always think back to your training manual, or you can't always think back to how everything is supposed to be done.
If I didn't do it then, I wouldn't be here arguing with you about it now.
Exactly.
Because none of us would be here. So I tried my best, and it didn't happen.
Charles said, the problem is in most jurisdictions, the bar for police qualifications is very low. So yeah, they screw up all the time.
Sure. And
I like regular cops or detectives, or
I think
both.
Or both.
That might just be police in general, the way it.
Yeah. And there's this push. There's definitely a push that we should probably have more police that have 4-year degrees.
Yeah.
But yet they have a hard time hiring, though.
Right. Well, of course. I mean, look, I don't know how much money you'd have to pay me to be a police officer, but I don't know if that amount of money exists. I really don't. I live here. So in the Phoenix metro area, okay, this is the 5th largest city, the 5th largest area, city in the country.
Wow.
And this is a metro area with the total metro area is over 5.5 million people, right? So whether you're in Phoenix or one of the surrounding areas, like, here at Studio B, we're in Avondale. Yep. Whether it's Phoenix, Avondale, Goodyear, whatever, I wouldn't want to be a police officer here. We've talked to police that work.
It used to be the bump up. You wanted to go from a small town to the big town, but now they're like, nope.
You're right.
No.
Yeah,
now
it used to be.
Go back.
Yeah, yeah. If you were in Avondale, you wanted to go and work for Glendale, or if you were Glendale, you wanted to go to Phoenix, because Phoenix and Scottsdale, they pay more.
Yes.
But the problem with that is while they might pay a bit more, is that slight bump in pay worth the fact that maybe, you're going to be working in the less desirable areas.
Correct.
And so that's why so it's harder to get good people. And then when you do get good people, sometimes, they wind up getting shot, taken out of the line of duty. Sometimes it's not worth it because maybe they follow procedures, but, maybe they do screw up once. And then,
one screw up is all it takes.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things. There's, the qualified immunity. We've talked about that. And we certainly, I'm not a fan of qualified immunity either. But,
Right.
It is a difficult job. I don't envy the position. I know that there's bad police officers. There's a lot of great police officers out there. There's more great than bad.
Yes.
There's more good than bad. There's probably few great, lots of good, a ton of mediocre, and then there's some bad and some just absolute awful, corrupt, officers out there too. We've seen even here on TCF, we've seen the gambit, right? So this is,
and then that's the other thing is like you're on camera,
Yeah.
when something happens, so like everybody can criticize you because now that's public information.
the best and worst thing that's happened to law enforcement and to the
It's
public in
body
general is body cams.
Mhm.
It's the best thing because of the Central Park 5. And, if there are body cams back then and cameras in the interrogation room that ran all the time, well, it might be a whole different ball game. How many times, now.
Well, we wouldn't have known about the one case we were talking about earlier that I shared with you.
Which case is that?
The lady who
Oh, there's
had mental health issues.
a woman in Florida in the Orlando area that had some mental health issues. Michelle sent me this video this morning, and she,
Okay.
I guess she was charged with theft, like petty theft or something,
Mhm.
at
Right.
a Walmart or whatever. And she clearly doesn't. She doesn't have a full grasp of understanding of what's going on. She's homeless.
Yep.
And
And there's some handicap.
there's
something.
some learning disability
Yeah.
issues there. And
That's
yeah,
sad.
she got angry because I think, again, there's mental health issues, and maybe the police didn't handle her correctly, and maybe they explained things to her in a way and she didn't understand. And again, this is where it comes back to more training is needed to handle people with mental health issues, and to handle people that are learning disabled, and to handle people that have behavioral issues.
She did 50 days.
Yeah, and that was the other part of that story was she sat in jail for 50 days. They never even
Jeez.
got her to court. It was a very strange case.
Wow.
And this is one where I don't think really that
50
my-
days, that's almost longer than she probably would have gotten for that charge.
Right.
Well, and then I guess she believed that she was being charged with trespass, but then they wanted to hit her with a theft charge. And I guess and this is the other part, is the confession portion. I think, there's a lot of tactics police use to get confessions, and I don't know if those are necessarily going to work in a case where you have someone that is learning disabled, or learning impaired,
Not properly.
or has mental
Question
health.
if she was properly had the right lawyer working with.
Right, if she had proper representation.
Yes.
And Austin, this woman was previously, had been hit with the Baker Act, which again is
Yep.
in Florida, for mental health issues.
Involuntary commitment.
Yep. So I don't, there are people that don't have a full understanding.
Yes.
And then, you don't collect the evidence properly, or you don't, or you get a confession out of somebody. But is that confession a legitimate confession? I mean, you could have maybe gotten her to admit to stealing the Klotman diamond. I mean,
right.
I
Or
don't-
that she was the police officer and he was the bad guy.
yeah. Like, I think, there's a lot of room for improvement in the system, right?
Well, and
yes.
the police don't know how to distinguish, or aren't trained to distinguish and diagnose someone on the spot and go, oh,
Correct.
there's obviously something wrong.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is they're not.
And then not trained how to handle them as well once they do realize that there's an issue, where talking to a normal able-bodied person, you two may be talking correct, but the person with the disabilities might not think that, and that might agitate them more.
Right.
So you just got to have a different way of thinking.
There's
Right.
de-escalation tactics that probably should be taught more
Yes.
in law enforcement. And I think how many times, even on TCF, do we watch these cases where a lot of things could be handled by simple de-escalation?
Yes.
You know, a lot of times that's all that's really needed. And instead, again, there's improper training. And I want to make it clear, I'm not trashing all law enforcement here, because I think a lot of them do have that training, but I think there's so many that don't, and that could get that training and that would benefit from a 4-year degree in some sort of, you know, criminal justice. And,
The facilities or the department's policies might be handcuffing them from using those right tactics or techniques.
well, and then
then
there's that.
It goes on to not be great.
Sure. And so, yeah, there's so many times where things are done correctly, and you know, nobody ever, look, we don't shine enough of a light on that. I know that. I get it. And I don't want anybody to think that we're glossing over that, because again, you know, when we watch, just speaking of high profile cases where things were done correctly, where they really went through everything very carefully and collected everything very carefully. I mean, Lori Vallow, they went through everything. Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell.
Yeah, but she passed the mental health.
She passed the mental health portion eventually. She was initially considered not fit for trial, but then after like a month or two, they brought her in, and
It was Chandler and Gilbert police who botched up that.
Well, initially, yes, the police may have
because Charles might still be here.
Well, again,
And-
police probably didn't handle it well initially here in the Valley when she was here, because, you know, her former husband said that she was trying to kill him.
Right.
And then Chad Daybell's former wife, Tammy Daybell, also said the same thing. Like, they're trying to kill me, or somebody is trying to kill me. And the problem in those kinds of cases is that there's evidence, right? But then when you don't have a crime that's been committed yet, the problem is
You don't know.
we're not right. This isn't Minority Report, right? We don't have a window into the future to be able to better gauge exactly what somebody is going to do, what kind of crime they're going to commit. So I'm not saying the police handled that perfectly, but that was one of those cases where when she killed her kids, Tylee and JJ, and you know, and the ex-husband and Chad Daybell's ex-wife, you know, it was just, you know, she killed all those people. Well, she and Chad. We don't want to leave him out.
Don't let Chad off.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people kind of ignore the fact that he was part of that, but you know, he's also up the creek on it.
I originally thought it was just her.
Right.
Oh.
But
Until
no,
he just said something, and I
right.
looked it up.
He was involved. Well, it was on his property.
Yep.
Where they found these kids, and you know, that was one case where they scrutinized every bit of evidence. They went through and cataloged, and it was months and months and months. And then when Lori Daybell was moved here for another charge here in Phoenix, they went through and scrutinized all the evidence there, the rental car, you know, because she took a shot at the, you know, at
Her brother.
at her brother. And
What is the cat doing?
and then yeah, the cat is Freya's in here right behind the scenes here.
Quick, get your
Freya.
bingo cards out.
Yeah, Freya is over there in the corner going nuts. I don't know what's going on over there. So so that was one of those things they went through license plate readers. They put together a whole timeline of everything. So,
and they tried to kill her niece's husband.
Wow.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Right. And so, Lori and or Chad and or Alex Cox or somebody took a shot, out the back of this rental vehicle.
No, it was a Jeep.
Or out of this Jeep.
It was Tylee's Jeep.
And so that was the thing. So anyway, they used this rental vehicle though. And then
Okay, I guess.
Yeah. So they tracked them down because across the state lines, they put together the whole timeline. They did all of this to figure out exactly what happened. And I think they did a fantastic job. So again,
yep.
It can certainly work. And when it's done well, I guess, nobody's ever given the proper credit. But man, when it goes awry, it's just, it's like the OJ
knows.
trial, There were certainly questions about how the evidence was handled in the OJ trial, and then what evidence should even be introduced and what's relevant and all of that. And, at the end of what's that?
I was going to say, now the famous saying is going through my head. The glove.
If it doesn't fit, you must quit.
Quit. Yep.
Well,
Sorry.
and again, that was an example of a jury that, the evidence was right there. The DNA was all over the place and everything was, OJ clearly did it. And the jury's like, nah, he's the juice. Yeah, let him go. Nah.
Star power.
Only to be convicted later on, 13 years later for stealing stuff. His stuff, really, but it wasn't. Yes,
his own stuff.
It was his own stuff, but he wasn't supposed to have it anyway because, he kind of owed the Goldman family, millions of dollars because he did lose the civil suit.
Yep.
So, and we don't know. We don't know, but. It's very interesting. I have to say it was a wonderful display of evidence collection in the Lori Vallow thing. And it was, and again, Brian Kohlberger, another, high profile case
Yes.
That was sad.
where
they're all sad, but
where they went through and got all that evidence and did a very good job with it. And so much so that many of the reporters, a lot of the journalists up there, they wanted access to all of that evidence.
Yeah.
And again, probably another topic for another sidebar. And I know we've touched on it on previous episodes about, how much of the evidence that's collected should the public have access to?
Right.
What should we get to see?
yeah. I don't agree with sharing gruesome, this pictures, photos of victims. Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
you may not agree with it, but there are some people that think that that's necessary because
That is
it offers transparency,
Yep.
accountability. And yeah, I'm not saying I agree with it either. I'm not saying I want to see that evidence, but some people will
Right.
make that argument
Oh, that's their
that,
argument.
just
Yep.
like it's like anything else. Some people argue against should we be streaming courtrooms live to the internet?
Right.
And my argument for that is courtrooms, by the Constitution, courts are supposed to be public. Trials are supposed to be public. What better way to have public trials than to stream them live now for everybody? We have the technology.
Yep.
I don't know why we don't do that. It makes so much more sense to do that. Yes.
So
Right.
Aldous has a question. Does anyone think there will be twists and turns ahead in the Reiner case?
Okay. So Rob Reiner,
I do.
there's probably going to be twists and turns in that case.
You think?
Maybe. I mean, is it? There's these kinds of high profile Hollywood cases. There's always different angles. I mean, even the Alec Baldwin case, where he killed somebody. Now, ultimately, nothing happened. Really, the guy was facing potential murder charge.
Well, it was supposed to be a blank or something.
Yeah, well, right. Yeah. But it's obviously a situation where there's going to be a lot of different angles that story is going to take, I'm sure. There's already a lot of controversy around it for the wrong reasons, but it's another topic for another day. But
the Rainier case I just heard about, so I've not really formed my opinions yet.
Well, his son stabbed him and his wife, slashed their throats.
And that's literally all I've heard so far.
Yeah.
And we don't know much more about it. We know that the son has had some ups and downs.
Yep.
And again, this is I hate to say it, but this is this is a parallel of some of the other cases that we see regularly here on TCF.
Yes.
Whether it's a child, going after their parents or parents going after their children or whatever, but we certainly see these kinds of cases.
Yep.
And again, I don't envy the police investigating that and collecting the evidence on that and making sure. And again, high profile case. And another topic we've discussed is high profile
neighborhood as O.J. Simpson.
Right. In the
Nicole.
Brentwood.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And, we've talked about high profile cases here on Sidebar before about, how different the justice is, whether or not there is justice, or, do high profile cases get a different brand of justice? And we all know that in general they do.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of it, because you get much higher priced lawyers and you get a lot of lawyers. You get the attention of the national spotlight and all the cameras on you. I'm sorry, but even all things being equal, human beings are going to react differently when there's more attention on them about something. Mm-hmm. And that's just the way it is. If we were doing this show, if we were doing Sidebar in front of a live studio audience of, 5,000 people, we would probably be acting a little different. We tried not to, but it's harder just because of the nature of it. The circumstances matter. And in high profile cases, boy, especially when you're an elected official like a judge, you want to make sure
everything.
Yeah, right. You got to make sure that even if you say publicly, I'm not going to, handle this any differently than I normally do. This is just another day at the office.
Yep.
We all know that's BS, right? I mean, that's because it's on display now. This is your time to shine and make sure that you do everything properly, and maybe even be extra careful. Yep. Again, we saw that in the Lori Vallow case, Judge Boyce up there in in Idaho. We saw that there. We saw that with Judge Boreski down here for that half of it.
I think
careful.
We got on TCF. We got a small sample of that during it was a case with Judge Simpson, the car accident with the two girls, and the one dies.
Oh, right.
Because that was not the normal Simpson that we see in the smaller cases. That was I'm not messing around.
It wasn't the jovial, laughing, kind of joking with the attorneys, Judge Simpson. It was a very serious, very straightforward, game face on Judge Simpson. Now some judges are that way. Judge Stevens is basically always like that.
Yep.
Judge Boyd is pretty much always like that. But
here's the thing.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We can go off the record. No, but she's always like that.
Yes.
But yeah, it is interesting because people behave differently. And, maybe that was part of the argument about Judge Fleischer was he was playing up to the camera. Although I think Judge Fleischer's just kind of a quirky dude.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think he was playing to the camera.
Or at least not much. Maybe he said some stuff that maybe a little louder than he normally would. Maybe a little more, maybe with a little more oomph, maybe a little more pizzazz, a little more boisterous.
Yep. Yeah.
But overall, I get the feeling that if we were able to see into his courtroom today, he's still doing things roughly the same.
Yep.
Because that's just, people.
Oh, he is.
That's just how he is. Some people are just that way. And that's why we appreciate it. So again, kind of to circle back because we're, kind of running out of time here, but this hour has really flown by. We really,
yeah, it is.
we really kind of flew through here. Once we got through a couple of technical,
that's why I kept checking.
bumps.
I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
And I think we only had one sidebar.
Yeah. I mean, we really only went off on one kind of tangent, although, and again, it was very much relevant.
Yep.
But I, as usual, I guess how we should wrap this up is, as usual, we solve nothing.
Yes.
That's our goal here at Sidebar. We kind of once did solve something, and another time we kind of, last week we sort of set the path on how something could be solved, but generally speaking, we don't solve anything. How can we solve this situation? I guess the solution would be do better, which is often our solution. Is that really a solution? Is that ever going to be attained? Probably not.
Everybody has a different view of what doing better is. So
right.
I think we're kind of going to be in that same boat.
So, all of that being said, final words, Austin.
This has been an interesting topic, like so many of them have.
Yeah.
And it's not kind of sad. It is sad seeing some of the misgressions. I don't know if that's the right word, but that the cops and the DAs and stuff may have allegedly took in some of these cases to get their verdict.
For sure. Michelle, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. There's a lot of people in the legal system that have a very important role, and I don't know final thoughts for all of it, but I guess when collecting evidence warrant and there is no, like Bruce says, there is no you're detained, you're arrested. That's my final. That's what I've learned this week.
You've learned basically that in a situation where cops are flanking you and you're surrounded by police and you're not free to leave, that you're not really detained, you're arrested, even if they have not arrested you officially
or read
your Miranda rights, which of course they should. You are for all intents and purposes arrested. Definitely words of wisdom and a thought to live by there.
Zip it.
As for me, I guess what I've learned here is that we need to do better when it comes to not just training in law enforcement and not just scrutinizing probable cause, but I think we need to make sure that this is a situation where we have more technology than ever. We have more information available to us than ever before. We have more supposed fail-safes in the system than ever. Why, then, are we still having so much of a problem with evidence collection and with and I think that's probably a separate sidebar topic about training and
and following procedures,
policies and training, and then who, as Judge Fleischer would say, sometimes people are being prosecuted for walking while black. And look, there's definitely a component to that again, that's another topic for another night. But there's definitely some times where evidence collection is a little different based upon not just two kinds of color. If how much green you got,
Yep.
and how much pigment you have on your skin. And that's where we'll leave it there. You know? But that's Sidebar, folks. We do this Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. East, 5 p.m. Pacific. I think we're going to have a hiatus next week because of the holidays. We'll probably have a couple of weeks hiatus. We'll see how it plays out. But we'll be back here Thursday night. I will be rushing back here to be on Thursday night. Hopefully I'm not late, but I have a doctor's appointment a couple hours early on the other side of town, so we'll see. But Dan will be back in the chair doing the hosting duties. I will return as my normal position as a panelist, along with Austin and potentially Lindsay. And I don't know about Ashley's availability. I know she has concerts, and Ashley's, it's
busy.
the holidays. She's busy. She's got clarinet that she plays in this orchestra, and it's a wonderful thing. But this is the time of year where you've practiced all year for it.
Yep.
So we'll see. But that will be, and then of course Michelle is always available as well to come off the bench and step into. We have so many people that are available. So that's why we do it. Again, join us back here tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. East, 7 a.m. Pacific for TCF Live. Dan will be doing that. And other than that, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Everybody in the chat, really do appreciate you participating there. And we will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Have a good night, y'all.